I'm excited to hang out. It's Wednesday night. It's 9:44 p.m. And yeah, we're officially live. So when you guys get here, um, you guys can uh like the stream and it is Trump. Yes. Cool. So I just set up a poll. You guys can vote if you want. But the stream is titled Davos and Dictator Arc. So there's a whole storyline that Donald Trump is an authoritarian dictator, but we don't have to talk about that. You guys got to me. You guys got to me, man. I'll tell you, I've been doing this the last couple of days. I told you guys yesterday just how big and popular we are. We've had 27,000 views. A lot of times we do smaller streams too. It's fun to hang out for like an hour or two with 10 or 15 of us here. But we've had 27,000 views. We've had some bigger live streams, and as it turns out, on the days where people who don't like Donald Trump are here, they seem to present more convincing arguments from my perspective. And so I'm not always going to talk like Donald Trump is a dictator, but that's the title of the stream today, guys. So I think you guys, I think anyone in chat, if you want to debate that or just we're hanging out, we can respond. You guys can respond to that a little bit if you want. But otherwise, I'm just here to kind of be myself and yeah. I'm sick of, I'll tell you all the stuff I'm sick of. Here's all the things I'm sick of, everybody. I'm sick of being expected to be knowledgeable. I'm sick of being expected to like do research every day. I'm sick of reading mean chats and trying to be nice about it. And I'm sick of what else? That's about it. I don't get sick of stuff. I don't complain that often. But this is the Davos Dictator Arc live stream. If you guys have a complaint, feel free to leave your complaints in chat too. It's a safe space. It's a fair space. I see all kinds of crazy stories happening out there in the world. There's updates about Theranos too. I don't know if anyone here has heard, if anyone's heard the Theranos story. It's about Elizabeth Holmes. Elizabeth Holmes, she's not a dictator of Theranos, but she was the founder of this company called Theranos. And she's petitioning Donald Trump right now for a pardon because she got arrested and got tossed in jail. They threw her right in there. Yeah. And so, Elizabeth Holmes started this company, and all these famous and rich politicians helped her. It was this guy named George something or another. He was the Secretary of State. Donald Rumsfeld. Donald Rumsfeld helped her start this company. And they wanted to sell these testing machines to every Walgreens and CVS. Yeah, and this is like the business dropout. You know, she was touted as like a business school dropout. She left college. And so if you leave college and you're starting a company, what a great idea. She says basically, I'm going to be able to start a company, and I already know who I'm going to sell to. I'm going to sell stuff to Walgreens and CVS, and I'm not going to sell to anybody else, and I'm not going to even really think about it that much more. And so anyways, she set up this like company making this like Star Trek technology for biology and biochemistry and for medicine. And it failed. And she lied to people about it. And so I do think she should get a pardon. I've got two opinions on this. It's kind of cutting the story off at the knees. But yeah, not cutting the story off at the knees. The full story is that She was trying to basically fit an entire like diagnostics company, like Quest Diagnostics. So when you get your cholesterol tested, they take your blood pressure, they do your blood sugar, they can test for different like hormones and other chemicals and stuff in your blood to make sure you're healthy. And she was basically trying to fit an entire like blood test company in this little box called an Edison. An Edison machine was what this thing was going to be called. And so this was magical because if you're Walgreens or CVS, people go to pick up their prescription or their Advil, maybe a couple groceries at your store. They'll buy their cigarettes or their stamps, Listerine strips, all that kind of stuff. All stuff people love, all stuff people need. They've used it, they use it, they love it. But when people had their doctors said you might be sick, you got to go get a blood test. They couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. You could get simple blood work done, but it was inconvenient. It made people drive out of their way. It was confusing and expensive because if you think of a million doctors all ordering blood tests, they can't just say, oh, go to CVS and do it. Go to CVS. And so that's what Elizabeth Holmes was going to do. She was going to sell to all these people. And so they released like some data tests. And this is after people said she was already a billionaire. People said, yeah, you're going to be a billionaire. Your company's worth $10 billion, $9 to $10 billion. And because they thought this was what the company was worth, they gave her $700 million. Wow. What a big number. Yeah. And so she got $700 million. Donald Rumsfeld gave her a bunch of money. And then it was kind of funny because what they did was Elizabeth Holmes sent out she sent out these test results and said, well, it's a little wonky, but we expect that at this stage. You wouldn't think it works right away because it's called like the Edison machine. So she's a great inventor. She was compared to Steve Jobs and all this other stuff. And then it turned out they did another round of like testing and stuff, and the machine just didn't work. And at some point they realized the company was basically built on nothing. It was based on nothing. The technology was never going to work, and it was worth $0. And so she got arrested for this and she went to jail because she was lying about it at the time. She was lying. She was acting like it was like maybe a software product that basically worked. Like in software, you can build software that works. And even if it doesn't work that well, or it's not going to go anywhere, if you just tell people what you did and that you believe it's going to work in the future, that's all they want you to say. But I guess you can't do that if you're building like medical testing. And so she lied to people. She got rich off of it. This was for her own self-interest. But the other side of it is you guys give this, you and me, we gave this this like 20 to 30-year-old girl $700 million. And we let her hire a bunch of like Harvard PhDs and stuff. We let her hire people from MIT and Johns Hopkins and UCLA and all these fancy schools. And so she basically signed the check. She gave all these people equity in her scam company, and they just went to work. And so when she went to the office in the morning with her like pit bulls, with her doggies and stuff, because she had dogs, Elizabeth Holmes was very famous for going around with her pups, if I remember. But she would go to the office with her pups, so she didn't have anxiety and stuff, and she saw people working all the time. True story, not funny. She was working all the time, and she saw people working all the time. But she still lied to people. She scammed people out of money. And so on the one hand, yeah, because it's so unfair that we in society let ourselves give this, this 30-year-old sort of first-time business lady, we gave her $700 million. I don't think that's fair that we did that. And we let her lie to us. And so we said, okay, because we did this, like 100% because we gave you $700 million, you have to go to jail now for like 40 years or 25 years or whatever. I don't actually know. And the other side of it is if you're like AOC or Bernie Sanders, you might be like, well, when you do dumb stuff, you do you, bro. When you do dumb stuff, it turns out It's distracting me, Angelo. I'll read it in a second. It's not you're distracting me. My brain is distracted. But so for the Democrat side, why she shouldn't get pardoned is because if you're like a slumlord and you buy an apartment complex, or you poison the water because you're a bad like fracker, or you're like DuPont or something, like your bad economic decisions actually kill people too, right? People die as a result of bad economic decisions. And so it's not that we should say you have to do everything perfect, but when there's obvious cases of existing laws being broken, it just like in any other case of the law, right? Because Republicans are so mean, they won't say that it was very dumb to give this 30-year-old chick, this 30-year-old business entrepreneur, it was stupid to give her $700 million. It doesn't matter what she said, right? You should have given her 50 million bucks or 100 million bucks and knew that it would have been a total wash. But if a small team of 10 or 15 engineers couldn't figure it out, then no one was going to figure it out. So you hire two marketers, you hire a big engineering team, and if you don't figure it out in 2 years, then your company isn't worth anything, and you get to take $20 million back, but you throw everything else out. And so Republicans would say like maybe pardon her, but Democrats would say no, you can't, because in a case like if like a Mexican dude comes here and he's like, yeah, I'm going to work, I'm going to send remittances, I'm going to send money back to Mexico, Republicans for him would say, no, you have to go to jail. And then you're going to go to jail. We're going to take all your money. We're going to throw you on the ground and put handcuffs on you. And then after we do that and you go to jail and you go to prison and stuff, then we're going to send you back to Mexico. All right. I got time. I got brain space for what Angelo said. Hey, what's up, Pi? Good to see you, Roland. Trump was hired by the people. Democrats are guilty of insider trading in many different ways. One of the biggest, I hope you're not lying to me or exaggerating, but let me read this. Democrats are guilty of insider trading in many different ways. One of the biggest ways is giving out specific contracts for building roads to daycares, insurance companies, that they force people to have these things that they're investing in. I didn't know that's how social safety nets work. That's how social safety nets work. Where I hope you're not exaggerating or lying to me or making me go look stuff up. But my belief is that what you're saying to me is that those are issues that pertain and are related to Democrats today or in the past. Yeah. The big one I cared about a lot, I'll tell you this. I don't know. Maybe what you're saying is true. I can look it up later if I should. You can tell me, Angelo, if I should look it up. If Democrats are getting rich off daycares. I've known people that have ran daycares, and I've visited a bunch of daycares. So I don't actually know how you would make money off daycare. I don't actually know how you would make like a ton of money off daycare. And insurance is based on like actuarial equations. So you could invest in that, right? Insurance, like Democrats want you to have insurance. That doesn't intuitively make sense. It sounds like you're telling me you're lying to me. Like your mom's telling me that Angelo's lying to you. Building roads. Yeah, Democrats want to build roads. Everybody wants to build roads. This is like your mom is telling me that you're lying to me. You just said insider trading. But I'll look it up. I'll look it up later. I'll type in Google or Reddit videos of Democrats cheating the economy. But the one I remember was Dick Cheney, and it was called Blackwater. I believe there's rumors that some of the Trump administration, also people close to them, are invested in private security companies. And so maybe that's the same thing, but that's common too, right? We see these things all the time, but this is why there's transparency, and this is why there's congressional oversight, so you can make it a political issue, right? And people think AOC is like an extremist about how the democracy should function, like liberals and Democrats should win all the time. And she's actually not. Even though she might be loud and obnoxious about this kind of stuff, you should have Congress talking about, well, Donald Trump, it's not about Minneapolis, Minnesota, like some dipshit state nobody cares about. It's about the state, the sovereign state of Venezuela, and the entire force of the United States military, right? That's a lot bigger of a story. And that's not like maybe in your mind or your opinion, it isn't, but that's like a political opinion, or that's an opinion or a belief. That isn't actually what the world is like. What the world is like is Venezuela is a country which exports 15 to 20 billion dollars of crude oil each year, and so their product single-handedly accounts for like probably $1 trillion of total market capitalization through its lifespan. And so the scale of Trump seizing one tanker or all of Venezuela's oil supply, and then giving $300 million of revenue to private security companies, that's a bigger banana for scale. Look at Pritzker. He paid out of his own pocket $380 million. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to have as a governor, in a government job. Pays $380 a year, but he has the power to manipulate both state and federal contracts. Yeah, that's very vague again. So again, Angela, it looks like your mom is telling me that your dad is now telling me that you're lying to me. Your dad's gotten in on the ruse. No offense to you, but make money off daycare like Somali did. Yeah, Stella Moon, you could actually, if you're in the US, you could go open up an at-home daycare center. I believe most states have laws where you can have up to like 5 spots. You can have like up to 5 kids. And a lot of people pay $700, $800 a month for it. But you have to basically totally transform the space. Whether it's your own house and you have like, I don't know how they do it. Maybe it's by square footage or something. Hey, Rebel Duster, good to see you. Salute. We the people have been being manipulated and lied to and ripped off by the Democrats. Yeah, Angelo, you seem like you're again telling me this isn't like an opinion. It seems like you're telling me to do something or be some way. I don't feel like I've been manipulated or lied to, because I just haven't watched or listened to MAGA rhetoric, dude. I just haven't listened to MAGA rhetoric, right? I watched Davos today. I watched Davos because it's important, because the Greenland issue is sort of like nerve-wracking or scary for me. Which it should be, right? If you don't look at Trump's posturing and you don't sort of wonder how this isn't scary or frightening, you don't understand it, I think. It's this mix of sort of certainty and confusion that ultimately culminates and collides with the actual gravity of the policy choices Trump selected, to some extent. The actual gravity of the policy choices Trump selected. And so it's very strange, if NATO's not going to be confident in weapons contracts, you might be like, well, Trump's a security genius. But again, people since Trump's first presidency have been looking at rising tensions with the East, with the Orient, and Occidental values seemingly sort of slipping off. And since 2016, people have said, get in front of it. And Donald Trump didn't do anything his first term. He chided Joe Biden his entire presidency. Even though many would say that, Joe Biden was saddled, he complained many times to Israel about these Abraham Accords, which in some sense, the Abraham Accords have enabled and empowered this conflict in Sudan. Because it puts on equal plane, kind of these like tribal groups that want to use foreign influence to create a dominant a dominant power majority in the state. That's actually what's happening in Sudan right now. So you have these basically these groups that have historically sometimes acted like genocidal authoritarians, or basically genocidal sort of authoritarians, like racist groups who really want resources. And then sometimes they've just acted like normal people sitting in a state like that still existed in Sudan prior to, the first seeds of conflict starting in the early 2000s. And so Trump comes along and is it 2018, and he basically says, well, guess what? If you're Arab and Muslim, it doesn't matter if you're in Africa or if you're in Egypt or you're in Qatar or you're in Saudi Arabia. We get to talk as Christians, Jews, and Muslims do, and that's how we're going to do diplomacy. It's so very stupid. I'm not making up some tin hat theories. It's right in front of everyone. It isn't in front of me, though. Hey, Sizzle Moonsong. That's a very comforting message. It's comforting. It's mean to some people, but again, Angela, I just told you I can look it up, but it seems like your mommy and daddy are telling me that you're trying to trick me. You're trying to trick me. Maybe I'm not that smart. Maybe I'm easily deceived, and so you shouldn't speak untruthfully. If you don't have references and if you don't understand it, why are you sharing it with me? If it's not balanced, if it's ideological in nature, why are you sharing that? Bryce Young says it'll either be United States, Russia, or China that's going to control it in the next 10 years. It's best for the United States if we control it. Is that Greenland, or my friend wants? Oh, Stella Moon. That's a great question. So Davos is a meeting of typically world leaders and economic leaders. I covered this in a short, and so you might get the best answer. Just so you don't feel obligated to subscribe. But one of my last shorts has an excerpt of Trump, and I talk about Davos. But I'll say basically exactly the same thing. And but yeah, so if you're looking around the world, you have questions like who's investing. Like one question is who's investing in emerging markets, and this is very strict capitalist economic language. This is economic language. So you wonder, you do sort of wonder, where France or Germany or China or Brazil or anyone is going to want to put their shekels, where they're going to want to put their money. And so that's one way to phrase it. But you can also ask, well, like who's investing in developing societies? Who's investing in rapidly developing or delayed industrial nations? And who's investing in energy or in high political risk countries? And where does that come from? Where does that come from? Where does it go? How long does it last? There's a lot of questions. It's not as much about coordination as much as it's about competition. And so Davos is a conference every year that, in my opinion, whether people realize it or not, sort of smooths that foundation out about the actions that very large, powerful economic actors take, whether they be banks that lend money, or central banks, or private firms, public firms, whoever you are. And so Davos, you meet up and you can basically say, well, here's what I see. Here's what I see. Here's what I'm going to go do, is what that's saying a little bit. Here's what I'm going to go do, or what we're going to talk about. And Donald Trump this year, my biggest complaint, the focus away from what Davos is supposed to be, which is what Donald Trump's been doing for, I call him a dictator in this stream, the title, Davos and Dictator Arc. But whatever. And so that's what I think Davos is. That's what I think Davos is, to be completely honest. I think that's a decent definition. If it isn't, then my bad, right? If it's not a decent definition, my bad. Do you guys like it better with the video on or off? Because I can turn the video off as well. I know I'm not that handsome. I know I'm Ooh, I'm so handsome. I got such good facial expressions. Yeah, and so, in the United States, we have people like Bernie Sanders and AOC who, in their heart of hearts and at their core, might look at Davos and be really skeptical of this. Because what they're ultimately doing or saying is that, well, at the end of the day, you have the central banks are either feeding or eating out of the palm of the hands of big time CEOs. And then it's not just the bankers. It's not just bankers who are trying to do a good job, also in their heart of hearts, but who are basically lapdogs or turning CEOs into lapdogs to some extent, doing their best to do so. It's also the fact that private companies also want to do their best, but not every company is equipped or at a stage where they can actually meet social and political goals of an economy. And so while it's maybe good and it's like the work that needs to get done, if that makes sense, it's things that just needs to get done, right? It's like being the dishwasher in some sense, really disrespect, like total disrespect to Davos. It's like, and always respect the dishwasher if you guys are lucky enough to get a job at a restaurant one day. But Davos is sort of like the dishwasher, busboy, or barback. They're changing kegs. Maybe they're trying to set up some deals that they think are really impressive. But at the end of the day, um, you know, the real problem solvers don't just address 30-year problems. They actually want to solve them. They actually want to solve them. And so you're right in a society to just take a position to be skeptical of something like Davos. But I also think you're in a position to understand it a little bit and also try to support that motion. Support the motion and say, well, when you guys have said that we're going to have more clean water initiatives, you guys have said that we're closer to clean nuclear. You've said that we've like transportation and city planning can get further away from fossil fuels, and we don't see any of this anywhere. It's basically non-existent. It might as well be non-existent, and for countries that are depending on this, countries and future problems and people today that are depending on this, that makes you either a liar, disingenuous, or incapable of truly stewarding in the resources that you're talking about. And so that's democratic socialism in a nutshell. That is, if you talk about it, you should know about it and you should be able to do it, which is why a lot of democratic socialism is actually smaller scale. If you guys know that, if you guys knew that. So yeah, so India has some like really strong democratic socialist sort of programs where they'll go study a problem for 6 months or a year and then not suggest like blanket like policy prescriptions like Obamacare, but they'll offer like an actual grid of what service is going to be delivered, how it's going to get funded, and how money returns back to the economy from it. Basically what's the total impact of the thing we're doing. And so for people that are opposed to Davos and liberalism, those people might say, because I do like liberalism, and I can talk more about that. I can talk a little more about Trump too. But the people that are liberals, believe in the people that work at Davos and the organizations, the entities like banks and companies. And democratic socialists will say, well, no, because you started off to make money, or you started off to solve these sort of non-impact problems and then go make money, as it turns out. And so it's too bumpy of a road to actually do the things that you talk about doing when you get the chance to be at Davos or whatever. Davos. But liberals will say, well, you need individuals in those seats or something. Trump is a genius, and so is Benji Netanyahu. Maybe. Yeah. I think Trump is a very smart person. I do think Trump has a genius level IQ. I think Trump's been talking about the same things for years, and I think he has ideas. And I think Trump maybe could and would have been very successful, effective, powerful and effective I think he would have been if he had started in a smaller role in government. Why not governor of New York or a senator working for someone else for some time? Why not spending more time working for someone else, as absurd as I'm sure that sounds to him right now, you know? But whatever. If Trump is a dictator, then why did we just have a government shutdown for a month and a half? I think the overwhelming fact Netanyahu is a god. Yeah. I don't believe you're actually asking me that question to answer it, but if you are, um, you know, so Trump has signed so many things into law, and like his hallmark, what I consider his hallmark achievement as president, which is expanding ICE and putting Tom Homan in charge, has produced an extreme deprivation of civil liberties, where every day hundreds, if not thousands, of Americans are impacted, stopped, harassed, or stalked. Citizens and people with legal status by our immigration services here. And so this is supposed to be a law enforcement agency, and it's not acting like it. And we've had law enforcement officials in at least two major cities, in Philadelphia and in Phoenix, Arizona, who have even spoken. Bob Tochis. These people have even spoken and said that we'll arrest ICE if they break the law here. I didn't go to Trump yet. I was really nice. You guys are getting to me a little bit on both sides, man. I'm getting stretched out. I said some nice things about Trump in my short on Davos. I said some nice things yesterday on my live stream about Donald Trump. Anytime I read Francis Fukuyama, I feel compelled to be a little more honest about the Don. And I think the most honest I can be is also saying that Trump is a dictator. He's acting like a dictator. He would happily accept the title of dictator. And that makes him actually incompetent at the end of the day in the most dangerous way possible, in the most extreme way possible. Even if he produces some things some people understand, ultimately the sort of general thrust is everyone is more confused when he's president, and there's really no one responsible for when he poops his diapers. When Trumpo goes poo-poo in his diapers as president, there's no one to clean it up except Trump when he gets around to it. Hey, Jeremy Mercer. Jeremy Mercer is either, I don't know if you're a progressive Democrat or if there's someone who's super pro-Trump that is listening to me and saying, this guy wouldn't say nice things about the Don. He wouldn't say anything nice about Donald Trump. Yeah, I would, dude. Yeah, I would. I've said nice things about Trump. I've said nice things about the Trumps, plural, about because Trump ran on president as the Trump family. And so I've said nice things about the Trump family. If you don't like that, it's not my problem. I've also said on it what I think are honest things, but really damning things, horrific things about that Trump's done. Why would they, if ICE is finally doing their job? Yeah, I mean, you know that it's not logically impossible that a law enforcement official breaks the law. In fact, it doesn't even really pertain to logic. You can just be poorly trained. Or in the case of ICE, you have junior agents and a high volume of high risk operations, which are said to be of some mission to enforce the laws we already have. And it turns out this is brown people it's stop and frisk version 2.0 or stop and frisk on steroids. You know, you have, whatever. Yeah, I saw on Reddit, it was heartbreaking, a press conference with this Somali girl. She's a citizen. She resides in St. Paul, Minnesota. And so not only was she basically tackled, harassed, stalked by ICE, humiliated, and arrested, detained, ultimately released because she's a citizen, but then she also has to go to a press conference about this. What else would she be doing? You go see a counselor, or you just kind of play it cool for a couple days or a couple weeks after this, And you say, no problem. But this is a story happening to thousands and millions of Americans. A couple years goes by, but now you have to do a press conference. Now you have to put your face out there because what happened to you was public. It was political. It was so horrible. Been like that since the Civil War. Federal always supersedes state anyways. They can't be arrested by state. Yeah, I don't know how you wish or you don't want me to engage the information that you're actually saying or how that information relates to the point you're trying to make. So, okay. I don't know. I like water. I like turtles. Those are all things I like, folks. Those are all my favorite things. Whoa. You guys see how smooth this is? Whoa. Jesus Christ, man. Man, I totally messed this up. I don't even know what I did, guys. And so I do think that we have a duty or a responsibility, perhaps, to at least tell the truth about events that happen. So shadow banned, state police can't arrest ICE officers. Well, that's just not true. I just think that's not true. That's not true. If you break the law and you have jurisdiction to arrest someone, you get arrested. But I think we've, so the legal question aside, because I don't think you're a lawyer, I don't think either of us should act like we're lawyers, but here's what I do think is true. I think we're both voters. I think we both voted, and we both will vote in the future. Official capacity doesn't mean anything. In an official capacity, that doesn't mean anything. And so, so we should have the sort of respect was police administration. Okay, so you're claiming to be an expert then in this. So you do know a little bit about how this should work, how this ought to work. And so you can be super honest. Do you think society should tell the truth about cases where ICE detains people they shouldn't have detained, when they use force, or when they stop and spend time and taxpayer dollars and create this sort of high-risk event where they're really, at the very, very, very least, they're towing the line of legality. In many cases, it looks like on video events, which if it was local law enforcement would result in a lawsuit. So do you think we should be honest and transparent? Should Fox News be covering those events? Your perspective as a police administration major. Go. Hey, what's up, Noel Kenna? Good to see you. Hello. Hopefully you're good. We're doing I'm talking a little bit about Trump and Davos, Greenland. I'm highly relieved, folks. Force is off the table. And by highly relieved, it means I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't personally believe that Trump is a trustworthy person. I don't believe he's trustworthy, and I believe he's a bad driver. He's not just a bad driver. He's a bad planner. He's bad at strategy, and he's dishonest. He has a history of dishonesty. He's dishonest in small things, and he wants you to trust him in big things. He took money from criminals. He took money and benefited from criminals like Dinesh D'Souza. Shadowband, are you thinking? Are you thinking, my dude? Were you thinking about what I asked? I'd like to know. Me and Shadowband are supposed to debate this topic a little bit. I think it's biased on normal operations of police tactics. I've seen SWAT teams be way more violent and be way more aggressive with Americans. Well, here's a huge difference is if you have the standard Leo, standard local police loadout, standard sheriff's office loadout, you have your vest and you have your tactical stuff, right? And so when we see ICE organizations which look far closer to me look closer to SWAT teams. They have the numbers that are closer to SWAT teams or special investigative or tactical units. And they're engaging people driving to work. They're going into places of business, and they're doing it regularly. So if you say it's biased, that's what's actually biased. What's actually biased is this thing that to any reasonable person or anyone who is supposed to be managing a situation, says you're going into this sort of very low risk, safe situation, but it's perhaps one that there's not a reason that sort of scope of law enforcement force should be in there. It's biased on normal operations. And so for normal operations of police tactics, from my perspective, the inside parts of ICE are designed for these super high risk operations. I've seen SWAT teams be more violent and way more aggressive with Americans. Yeah, and SWAT teams shouldn't be there without warrants. They shouldn't be checking IDs unless they have the person they already have visual identification of. They already know the person's hallmarks. And so if you know someone's hallmarks and you have reason to believe they'll be someplace at some time, or you have live sort of live intelligence or eyes, whatever, you have intelligence or you have definitive evidence that they are someplace at some time, a SWAT team is operating much differently than having this database of people that Tom Homan would like to arrest and then seemingly trying to sweep up anyone else in the process. And ICE is doing both. ICE is doing both things. So I think it's disingenuous when people call these things out when multiple different agencies have been using these same tactics. I just outlined how that's not true. I just outlined that it's very confusing for Americans to see both what appears to be sweeps as well as these sort of data-driven, these database Palantir-driven missions, operations, going after specific people, some of whom maybe should be in U.S. custody. Some of them maybe should be in U.S. custody. A court determines that. If you have a warrant for that arrest. If you have a warrant for them on crimes related to immigration. But when you also see sweeps and you see in a short span of like 3 months or so, in a short span of 3 or 4 months, you see this now being sort of conflatable to racial profiling, you can say the scope of the mission is incorrect. DEA been doing sweeps through the ghetto for decades. I don't know if that's true. I don't know why that would be true. The DEA has been doing sweeps through the ghetto for decades. Yeah, if you can police an area, that's also been a contentious issue. A contentious issue, for sure. Yeah. For sure, man. For sure. Yeah. And so what I think ICE has accomplished is creating a low trust environment. They've created a low or no trust environment, and it is because there's hard evidence of illegality. There's evidence that a non-zero number of ICE agents related to this one mission, related to the 1 or 2 missions, however they have it broken up in their handbook, should be in jail. They should be arrested. They've done illegal things. And I'm allowed to say that, and it's not just allowed, but in a democracy when government exists for the people and it is by the people and of the people, it's not just that I'm allowed to say that, I ought to say that. I should say it. I can, I must, and I will. He should, he will, he won't, but he could. And so what happens next with Trump? What will evolve or emerge If you are the president, and this is all true, and you're the president who ordered the detainment and illegal handling of basically the confiscation of freedom, the confiscation of a sense of safety of millions of Americans, and you're wondering what the policy or political implications are or ought to be, what happens next for this president? For President Trump, perhaps it's not much. For President Trump, he perhaps has believed in the past he's been able to sell these narratives, sell some narrative, sell any story up the chain to Fox News, down the chain, and breaking ties, blaming administrators. People with law degrees like Tom Homan, who knows full well that truly being loved by Barack Obama is not the same thing as being loved by Trump. And he also knows this is a very different administration. An Obama who sat straight-faced talking to the largest American network news anchors and told them with a straight face that we would deport parents raising their kids in the United States. We thought that was an atrocity, and perhaps it was. But what is truly an atrocity, what can only be understood in terms of the toll on human lives, on suffering, is people dying in ICE custody, dying because a private for-profit prison system can't keep up with the demands of the ICE administration. It's seeing 25-year-old Somalian women, US citizens, residents of places you go on spring or summer vacation, crying during a press conference because they were arrested, beaten, and humiliated by ICE. We really should have more scrutiny. Americans don't need to be experts in law enforcement to understand that a stop and frisk for citizenship is illegal. It's also illegal to violently arrest and detain criminals when they themselves don't have due process under the law. Trump truly is to account for this. It was the centerpiece, the hallmark of his platform. Trump told us that arresting people would solve problems, that arresting people is never solved for across human history. Many should realize that what Donald Trump is actually running up against is not in fact his own ego. It's perhaps not rushed or poorly planned sense about how immigration services work in the United States. It's not the interplay between the court system. It's not the interplay between federal agencies and local law enforcement. It's instead Donald Trump is running against fair standards of government that have existed not just in the United States, but societies for centuries. Humans intuitively know what is and isn't fair. They intuitively know what sort of choices are good and what are not. Something like self-deportation we're seeing does show in the data. Mexico is reporting 5% lower remittances for the last calendar year. Certainly, ICE had some impact on this number. No one would say that Tom Homan's efforts across all 50 states in the continental US, perhaps expanded spending at the border, has contributed to money being sent back from Mexico by either legal or illegal, documented or undocumented workers, falling 5%. It's totally uncorrelated. That wouldn't follow. What doesn't make sense is that Americans haven't had the chance to consider a question like this. If we're truly against immigration, truly against economic liberalism, if some say that neoliberalism isn't the right solution and it's time to play hardball, why is it the case that ICE was the only option presented to Americans? Democrats had a lot of success in 2018 running on the platform of abolishing ICE. People like AOC ramped up support in New York. She mobilized voters which had historically not voted on this one platform. This one platform that ICE is doing unethical things, and they're so unethical to the fact that they are, to wit, not democratic, not political, but instead fascist, authoritarian, and violent. Americans should be presented with the choice. Americans should have the opportunistic sense about themselves and sense about the world that when we have the chance to do good, Maybe it is abolishing ICE, maybe it's the conversation, and Donald Trump has encouraged nor allowed either of these things. Hi from Australia, from Philip 457. If you are not legally in the country that you're in, then I don't care, you know. Let me try that again. Hi from Australia. If you are not legally in the country that you are in, then I don't care, you know. I don't know what that means. Let's read Angelo. Americans are pro-legal immigration. Another comment here. Americans are pro-legal immigration. America is against illegal aliens. So that's a non sequitur. So being pro-immigration, pro-legal immigration is a process with legal ramifications. America's against illegal aliens is talking about a person. Why don't Democrats understand? Well, that answers your question. That's why Democrats don't understand. Do you know what happened to Rome? Rome existed for many years across many lands. Rome ruled many different people. Rome had to integrate Roman bureaucracy, perhaps the greatest achievement of the empire, a system, a science of government, prior to the term of science even existing. So many things probably happened to Rome, Mr. Paul Brown. Stella Moon says, I like Daffy Duck. Thank you. I think Daffy Duck likes you. I hope that's related to the duck photo that you can all see on your screen. Do take a second to like and subscribe. I appreciate you being here. It's not fair for illegal immigrants to take American. Hold on, I gotta adjust something, and then we've got Go Chuck Yourself coming up next. All right, hopefully I'm coming through loud and clear. Chuck Yourself says, it's not fair for illegal immigrants to take American citizens' jobs, and it's not fair for illegal immigrants to buy houses that could house American citizens, and it's not appropriate. That's a very sweeping opinion. It's not fair for people to take American citizens' jobs. So there are people on the right, Chuck. This is how I'd respond to your argument. There's people on the right, such as libertarians and perhaps even some classical conservatives that favor and bias totally free markets and totally minimal small governments that don't believe a job could ever possibly belong to anyone. So I think it's the case, Chuck, that you would have to answer the question as to how someone would know or measure or gauge or decide a job belongs to someone. In terms of purchases, the same logic follows. If you're a libertarian, if you're a capitalist, it's not clear who can buy something except for who actually buys it. This is the core thesis, the underlying assumption of Austrian economics. It is the school of economics which is studied at the most universities in the most places and perhaps is most reputable. And so it doesn't really seem that you're voicing a commonly held opinion or belief. Go check yourself. I believe you are taking a lot of terms in this comment, a lot of terms that are commonly used by political pundits, that are used by candidates running for office, and putting them together. Maybe you have an argument that I haven't seen and don't understand, but as this sits, it does not appear to be about the world. It appears to be about or just some misuse of grammar and language, or perhaps an obscure political ideology or belief set that I have not heard of. And as for buying houses and housing Americans, as a progressive Democrat, I will slip one of my opinions in here. Yeah, I do believe it's a social, political, and economic issue, a question to ask: who should own a house? How do they own a house? What happens next? Is this about society? Is this about retirement? Is this about an individual goal, or is this about a collective or shared goal? One of those shared sticky problems that impacts individuals. I think it could be both. But I think to even get to that conversation, you would have to clarify what you mean, Go check yourself, as to why we're talking about people and owning jobs. These are not two things that exist simultaneously in any possible world. These are not things that politicians reference together. These are not things that policy could even be written about in a coherent way. And so I don't believe you are sharing a political opinion. Like I said, I believe this is either some obscure far-right ideology that I'm unfamiliar with, or it is a misuse of the English language. Yes, Daniel. Good to see you. Yeah, my name's Duck. I go by Nathan in real life. So Daffy does work, sir. As does Nathan, or as does Duck, or Duck's Y, the name of the channel. We are using our Rhodes Healthcare, says Shadowband. Government assistance without paying taxes. And so this perhaps is a reference to justice is fairness. Justice is fairness. However, this concept applies more broadly, I believe, than you are giving it credit for. And please do correct me if I'm incorrect in the chat. And Daniel, if you have thoughts, please think about something we can discuss, leave them in the chat, and I will be sure that we can have a productive conversation and back and forth. And so when we say our roads, healthcare, and government assistance without paying taxes, perhaps the best known argument is, well, that's one part of the equation. What about a bookstore? What about an ice cream shop? What about traffic lights? What about the electricity in your home? What about the oil under the ground and the oil under the ground at the gas station? Are these things that we owe something to? Is there an unspoken or implied contract between us and society for the things we take, for the things we use? And so this does seem like far-right rhetoric. You say they, and so maybe this is the case that you're just against social safety nets. Is this a they that has some moral value that is under the surface that's been unidentified? Given your history in policing, perhaps this is an objective sense of they. It also could be the case that you have some reason to believe that roads, healthcare, government assistance, and taxes are what we decide on when we vote. And I think this is foolish. I think we have better views of what society is like. When you imply that there's not economic data or not social data or political data on anything other than these things, I believe you're biasing things one way. I also believe that this is tacitly depending on the zeitgeist, on the character of what other people's psychology thinks. From my perspective and my belief here is that we shouldn't be blunt. We shouldn't be as blunt, and we should be direct about what we say at the same time. We should be clear in what we actually believe and what we use to decide while we ourselves are looking at issues. But we should also be direct and perhaps honest and say, well, if you support fascist, autocratic, or authoritarian ideas, if you do harbor xenophobia or racist beliefs, is healthcare, is government assistance, are roads, are these all just instances of things that excite previously underlying racial tensions? I believe that's the case. I believe that is the case. They equals illegal immigrants. How do you know? How do you even know? I've seen, so, and maybe I don't believe that you're racist. You spend, and I shouldn't even bring it up because Shadowband, you spend a lot of time on the channel. You come to live streams every other day when I do them. And we talk, we kind of know each other. But I do believe there's many people out there who have said things like, well, we can't lock up all the Somalians forever. And when we're seeing Somalians who are US citizens being legally detained, illegally detained, and so these are US citizens being legally detained, it doesn't matter what they're wearing, what they look like. And so I believe you're speaking into a very dangerous space, and I think you know that as well. The left and the right and the right and the left. Democrats are the racists. I don't believe the word racist is losing its power. There's still Black Panther groups. I believe that if Black Americans, whether you have a family or one day will have a family, and you are concerned about the direction of our country, you're concerned that Donald Trump is contracting Hillsdale College to make propaganda campaigns for MAGA. You're afraid this is coming from the office of the White House. You're afraid this is coming from the Oval Office. I have no reason to not trust or believe that. William Barry says Democrats hate white people. Well, that is an opinion you're allowed to have, William Barry. If anyone else in chat thinks Democrats hate white people, feel free to weigh in. Democrats are the racists. Yep, you're allowed to believe that as well. And so the difference between what I said, William, and what you're asking me to consider is I didn't say all MAGA, I didn't say all of the right are racists. You yourself did adopt right away that all Democrats hate white people. All Democrats are the racists. If you want to just talk about racism, then please explain to me why you're equipped to have that conversation. What data, what facts do you come with? What's your point? All left is sickos. Daniel Ben Daniel seemed to have a quick existential dive on his own. Right, left, they can't have one without the other. I'd love to discuss that sometime. I'd love to discuss that now. The left and the right need each other. What do you mean by left and right? Who are these people, or what are their beliefs and ideas? All left is sickos. That seems inconsistent with the other statement. They are bias data driven. Yeah, Daniel Ben Daniel, if you're patient, you can subscribe and we'll do open panels and we can discuss at some point. Yes. They are biased data driven. Yeah. Yeah, we use data to get to another data driven decision most accurately, in my view. We believe there's a probability our belief about something is right. And that's also driven on data. There's a probability that data is right, and therefore there's a probability that the conclusion we reach about that data is right. Follow that up. That is what you ultimately would learn to do in graduate school, or perhaps if you are in a high power role, where psychology has to become subservient in some sense to how you feel about the issues you're solving, as well as the objective sense of the numbers, the facts and the figures you're managing. Yeah, I don't believe data is as disputable as you would make it out to be. In some sense, perhaps the exact system I just described, where we can use probabilities and data and probabilities about that data to determine the likelihood of a conclusion, is in fact designed to present information in such a way that it's not as intersubjective as you're suggesting. You need a non-bias input. Well, one of my recommendations is, if you were to look at political theory or political science, Hillary Putnam is a very soft example of this, where you can see both data as well as conclusions about hard-hitting issues like democracy punching into the void. Punching into the void. Oh, bias is being human? Maybe. What's going on? How you doing? How are you guys doing? How you doing? Thank you very much. I'm here all night, folks. Let's have a little fun. Let's have a little fun, guys. Let me get this tripod fixed up. I gotta bend it at all the right places in all the same ways, and then this tripod stands up. I got this thing at Goodwill. I like stupid iPod style stuff the most. Just being totally honest. I like stuff that I don't even have to think about even a little bit. Even a little bit. Ooh. California Democrats. Oh, man. Gavin Newsom. I'll read the rest of this in a second, but Gavin Newsom is cracking me up. Sorry, I'm so gross right now. Gavin Newsom is making me laugh, folks. He's out there. He's calling Trump, he's calling him all kinds of funny names and stuff like that. And, that just happens. Some people would say, well, I get my morality based on some objective sense from God. Forget the fact that sometimes things just happen and your moral sense about those things should rise above it should rise above and be able to capture and explain the phenomenon that you're actually looking at. That's my view. I don't believe all political morality is created equal. I think for centuries, people have been espousing moral truths and facts like social stratums in the South, like in the antebellum South. Well, all right now there, boy. And that it's just not accurate because it's very narrow. It comes to a very thin and simple psychology. And so one thing Democrats have gotten right that you guys haven't accounted for this entire stream, no offense to my MAGA friends, I hope we're friends, my always Trumper friends, no, to my well-educated erudite friends. But it's been true that fascist or authoritarian-leaning, autocratic style and nationalistic identity-based appeals to a very simple psychology. And there isn't something that saves this. There's no nuance. And so when radical Democrats, as you may see them, if I control a little bit, radical Democrats like AOC and Bernie Sanders, very scary people, right? When they've said that, well, you're going to turn into an obnoxious bigot who doesn't know how to speak English because all you talk about all day is something that appeals to a simple psychology. And so where is the defeater in there? Where's the defeater? Where's the symmetry breaker that, well, it's you and me and we just believe two different things? No, it's not. It's not, because I don't need to be right with everyone. I don't need to be right with most people. I know when my opinions and ideas and beliefs are in the world and I observe them happening, and I can observe sometimes powerful people who believe what I believe, people with positions of influence, people with gravitas sometimes believe what I believe, sometimes they don't. And in the United States, it's supposed to be my job to say, well, my values and my beliefs are punching out from my household. They're punching out on the level of things I see in my day-to-day. And so I don't need to be right all the time. Welcome to the well-run fucking United States of America, folks. Welcome to the USA. We don't have to be right all the time. If we can't speak man to man. All right, see you, Daniel. Have a good day. I can ban you from the channel too if you don't want to waffle next time, because it's probably going to be the same conversation. I can just make it easy for both of us. I won't see you in chat anymore, man. And go both directions on it. I'm just not that smart of a person. Here's the thing is, if I have my head, this is what a lot of people don't get about, like, maybe you guys say I'm soy or I'm academic, or you say nothing about me, right? But like, let's just say that like I probably would tend to be a little more intuitive and academic versus like highly analytical and academic or something like that. It's like, I can do both, but I would prefer to do intuitive stuff. But I'm also very gullible because of that, right? I'm prone to believe people and see what they have to say. And so when I see arguments that suggest that I have a simple psychology, or suggest that that's just what it has to be, and that's how I have to analyze your belief about Donald Trump, about Davos, whatever, about what's going on in the world, it's kind of upsetting. Because it's like, yeah, I don't want to spend time rethinking who I already am and decided I am or decided I could be, all these things. All right, I might cut this off. I might go do obnoxious atheist stuff on the internet. You guys know I love you, my Christian brothers and sisters. Hey, what's up, Idaho Life? Are you a fan of what do I know about Idaho? I know you guys have a lot of foothills and trails, and I know you guys produce potatoes. You're probably sick of it. And I know you have a lot of athletes in Idaho, if I believe correctly, and there's also a Mormon community, a fairly large healthy Mormon community in Idaho. That's all I know about Idaho Life. Idaho Life 4. Thank you for the kind words. This guy's a freaking moron. Yeah, what does it take to be called a moron? I think when people choose to oversimplify it because they did so for maybe self-interested reasons. I get it. Like, I get you guys. I don't know if you guys ever watched The Simpsons, but there's a really funny old scene where Homer Simpson, who's this sort of like fun-loving but sort of doofus sort of dad who ends up doing the right thing most of the time. But there's an episode where he shoves a crayon in his brain to get really smart. And then other people, if you put a crayon in your brain, you get stupid, right? And so in this episode where Homer gets a crayon in his brain, he becomes a genius and he ultimately has to decide between leaving the crayon in his brain or taking it out and going back to his ordinary doofus life where he makes mistakes and he's not successful and he can't engineer anything. He's just a normal blue collar worker working at the local nuclear power plant. And so the only time I think it's suitable to say, well, oh man, that guy's a fucking moron. That guy's a freaking moron, you know? I think when people they lose the cartoonish aspect of it and they say, well, we can go faster or we're going to get more out of it by really taking out the complexity, by doing it in a simpler manner. We're going to do it more simply by making it stupider. And it's simpler for me personally. Maybe none of the other people we impact. And so I think that is a case where the reason that is moronic isn't because someone like naturally has low IQ or they're low T or they're super whatever, they're getting their grade B Wagyu beef and, being like meat brained, sausage brained and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so from my view, what I'd say is if you're a moron because no one can actually talk to you anymore because you made your decision in such a way that there's not responsiveness or reciprocity. Super mega moronic brained. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. When you're super mega moronic brained, it's not like someone can emotionally say something that resonates with you and they get through to you. It's the fact that you've made yourself stupid in order to accomplish a goal. So it's kind of sad, right? It's like, well, are these true men that are responding to circumstance? Hell no. Do you know what strength is to me? Do you know what strength is, or daring, or cunning, or discerning? To me, these are all values that emerge when you do the hard thing, when you make the choice to be smart and to fail because of it, when you make the choice to be compassionate and fail because of it, when you do the hard thing and admit that you don't know something and you're willing to fail because of it. I wouldn't, when I was a manager, when I managed people, I wouldn't want one employee to be a robot so that 9 others could be successful. If I had 10 employees, I would not turn one person into a robot so that 9 could be successful. I don't believe that's actually fair. That's not how that should work. Yeah. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks for your support. Yeah. And so, yeah, I was very lucky. I went to community college and I also went to a decent state school in an honors program. And so it's not like I'm here trying to save people or something. But I did get to take seminar classes when I was in my 20s with like 10 people. Like I had one class that had like 8-9 people in it, and there were 2 doctors, 2 professors teaching 10 of us. And so I'm okay doing And if it's an hour online talking to 8 people, that's okay with me. And yeah, and that's actually like the size of like my friends group in college. Like I had 5 roommates, and even when we would do like kickbacks, because I'm a millennial, I'm old, so that's what we would do is a kickback. There'd be 10 people there. So whatever. We've got the real Benjamin Netanyahu in chat, and so it's good to see you now here. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister or President, for gracing us. I truly mean that. That isn't sarcastic, and just be aware, we have both sides of the political aisle represented here. So we're excited to speak with you here tonight and to hear what you have to say. And Prime Minister Ben Netanyahu says, do you think the disparities between races can be attributed to, this is what the Prime Minister is saying, do you think the disparities between races can be attributed to natural IQ differences between the races? Yeah. So I believe this is a Mossad double of Benjamin Netanyahu. You're not going to trick me. I don't think you're actually the true Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't believe that. I don't even believe the spelling of your name. I don't believe that you speak Yiddish or Hebrew. You look like an engineer. I wish I'd have more money if I was an engineer. If I was an engineer, I would have more money. I truly would. Yeah, I would. So, and so I believe that disparities between races is not actually about any variable or scientific distinction. I believe it's about a truncated psychology. It's about a truncated psychology or highly amoral or immoral social norms. So this is basically saying in a science class, you can never learn about differences between races. Truly, there's no case where that's true. And then in a society, you can learn. In a society, you are able to learn about the differences between races, and you're able to learn about the differences between lots of things. You might learn in some societies that knowing about capitalism isn't that important. In the United States, that's very rarely the case. Even if you're born in the worst, poorest neighborhood in the United States, by the time you're 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 19 years old, you know how much things cost. And you'll also know how much you can get paid to go do something. That is at least knowledge about capitalism. That same person, by the time they're 25 or 35 or 45, will have a decent understanding of what a day in the life of a CEO is like, even if they're not a CEO. In the United States, we bias people learning about capitalism. Is this because people learn about stress when they're young? Is this because people learn about opportunity when they're young? If you grow up in a good neighborhood, it may be the case that you're a 8-year-old with more money than some adults in the United States. What is capitalism? I believe it's a system where a rule of law exists, which enforces property rights, in which a fiat currency is exchanged for either resources, goods, or services. We have the 3 modes of production in our society. And so within capitalism, if you want to stay very textual and you say, well, without the sociological context or the cultural context of what capitalism is, you could say, well, you can study how the companies and the actual sales of products, basically you could study how the sale of products and goods happens and how equity becomes a product and what enterprise value is. Or you can also say, well, you might wonder how entire segments of the market interact with each other. How it's the case that we can not just look at the firm level, but look at various modalities of economic competition, both sort of mathematically, but also based on actions and behaviors and things like this, legally maybe. So no theft. Capitalism is theft, bro. You want me to say that? Clip this, guys. Make a clip. Capitalism is theft, man. Yeah, you steal resources from the land for reasons you will never be able to specify. Anytime here, this is my friend Donnie coming in to explain this to you. Donnie's from New Brunswick. Anytime you wipe your ass, anytime you write your name and poop on the wall in the bathroom, or you wipe your butt, that is because the CEO of a toilet paper company stole trees from the ground, never knowing who was going to wipe their butt with them. Welcome to capitalism, folks. You could ask that CEO. You could ask that CEO for 10 days straight. You could put him in a Senate chamber and deposition him and do a subpoena, and you could interrogate him for 10 hours in Senate for making toilet paper. And at the end of those 10 days, do you know what he would know about who he sells toilet paper to? Nothing. He would never know more than he knew in the first place. But do you know what he can do tomorrow? What he can't do tomorrow is go walk around and go talk to all the people wiping the butt with his toilet paper. What he can do is he can walk over to the trees he's pulling out of the ground to turn into paper to make toilet paper. So he can always know about what he's taking. He can never know about what he's giving. That is capitalism. That is capitalism. An eternal truth, folks. Why are you upset at toilet paper? Brother, I ain't mad at toilet paper, brother. Brother, I love toilet paper. Clip it, guys. Hey, Mr. Marketing, damn, you really got him with the username burn. Yeah, I had to throw down a little bit on Benjamin. I think I drove fake Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu out. Hey, Smoogly Boogly, good to see you. I never know these days. I never know these days. You know, sometimes I go to Discord Politics because I'm an internet dweeb. That's who I am. I'm not a troll. I don't like gaming, all that kind of stuff, but I do like discussions. And and half the time when people are talking about Israel or the Jewish faith, they're not actually talking about like the Jews in the world. They're just saying the words a lot. So it goes. So it goes. That's a phrase from, is it Catch? No, it's not Catch 22. It's a Kurt Vonnegut book. Catch 22 isn't Kurt Vonnegut, but it's still absurdist a little bit. It's not that absurd, but it is absurdist. If I'm getting that right. So what do you guys want to do tonight? If I shut the stream down, do you guys all have hopefully something fun to go see, watch? I've been watching World at War documentaries on YouTube. Those have been cool. They have these really like simple kiddish documentaries where I try to learn one or two things. Let them just sit with me a little bit. Rabbi Shmuley, Botiak. I don't know how to say that, but I think that's a compliment. Thank you. Yeah, so I've been watching Mustache Man documentaries about the Third Reich and the Nazi Party in Germany. I want to try to find a book. When I get my first paycheck I got a part-time job, so when I get my first paycheck, I want to start buying books again, or I want to grift you guys. I want to grift 1 or 2 days a week, hardcore, and go buy books. I've become more interested in the end period of the war because it's when, this is one interesting thing about strategy. If you guys like either strategy games or you like history, that the Allied forces, so the good guys in the war, the United States and Britain, people opposing Nazism and genocide, their strategy for defeating Hitler, you didn't really have, technically, because you don't defeat the Third Reich by winning battles. You defeat the Third Reich when you defeat the Third Reich when they can't fight or won't fight anymore. And so you only start seeing the actual strategy, which included like depriving them of energy and pulling civilian support away, trying to get that sort of the loss of morale in civilian areas in Nazi Germany to the front lines where Germans were supposed to be fighting. Like when you sort of start drawing this different web around Germany, that's how the Allied would win the war. And you only start actually seeing this in like 1943, 1944, right? You don't need to win a war over 6 years or whatever it is, 5 years. You actually over a decade and a half, you actually only win a war in a day. You win a war in a day or two. And that's one of the things people didn't totally understand about like the Iraq and Afghanistan campaign, which I'm definitely opposed to. Definitely opposed. Really bad. But I'm not going to dwell on that. But when there was this initial shock and awe in Afghanistan, at least, or in Iraq, the U.S. was basically saying, well, yeah, we could send in a couple boats and stuff like that, and we could do this over 12 or 24 months if you guys want, but we could also show you that we can win this war in 3 weeks. We can win this war in after a day. You guys are going to be scurrying, and it's going to become very clear in a week to 2 weeks, definitively, that that was the strategy and the war is over. So very violent, because when you take this strategy and you actually ask, well, who are the people and the resources that are being used in order to conduct this campaign, and when does it actually hit? You see how violent it is, but you also see this truncation of just what a war is. That it becomes truncated, compactified to some extent, that, well, you're going to ideally, if you're an ethical warrior, you're going to be solving the problems right away, right? So you're basically going to say, well, can we figure out where the most dangerous or radicalized or loyal, the most loyal, not like religious, but the most loyal to the regime Baathists are going to go? Can we try to ensure that we're targeting those areas that they're going to go get weapons from to minimize an insurgency? And it's like, yeah, you guys just can't do that, right? We live in a globalized world. There's always weapons available, and every state just already has weapons. So you can't really do what you may try and do. You can't compactify it. And so you can truncate the war effort, but then you have to go manage this entire new phase, right? And that drives the strategy, the game then. I'm a secular atheist. I'm a former Catholic. And I prescribe to dharmic religions, perhaps. I think Hinduism is interesting. I like Buddhism, and I like I don't have like a tattoo on my chest of Buddhism or anything, or anything. Not that anyone would think I do, but and I like Taoism. I picked up a discount copy of Tao Te Ching when I was in college. It was like at Barnes and Noble, like one of our big bookstores here. Changing Hands was like in the Phoenix area. There's this used bookstore in Tempe, Arizona called Changing Hands. And so I got a copy of this religious text, the Tao Te Ching, either at Changing Hands or Barnes and Noble. And I read it. And I was like, wow, this is better than a self-help book, and I probably need it. But I also don't like reading self-help books. And so as I'm older, I believe in like an emptiness, the metaphysics, all kinds of stuff. Daddy's ready to fill his white booty up. Hey, what's up, Medicinal 133? Good to see you. Welcome to the channel. Hopefully y'all are having a good night. Hopefully you're having a little bit of fun. Hopefully you're ready to engage thoughtfully. Thank you, Streamlabs. You should be back. You got timed out for a second. That's what Streamlabs does, is you get a 1 second mute when you say a bad word. Thank you. I appreciate you, sir or madam, folks and folks. So who's ready after Trump's Davos speech for the post-identitarian future? You guys should see why I say this. If we're in a neutral state like Switzerland, And it's kind of crazy because you can go skiing, you could go drink some absinthe, you could like take a train to France in a couple hours. But if you're in Switzerland, you could also probably just stay where you are and just, kind of hang out and stuff. And that leads one to wonder. That leads one to wonder why you have to be masculine or feminine to do any of those things. Leads one to wonder why you have to proclaim to be a race, gender, or sex unless it's more convenient for you. Rarely is it. In my own experience, I don't often think about being a white male, except for the fact that I am a white male. Happens all the time. I don't mean to be rude to anyone, but that's just how I feel about it. And some people will say, well, this is white privilege in action or something. That's your psychology. Okay, cool. I'll think about that too. I'll consider that. I was talking about my white guilt the other day, and I said, boy, my real white guilt is I ain't big enough to build a future where identity just doesn't matter as much. It's an interesting psychological ploy we can have, and it's also really less fundamental. I have a natural identity. That's what I learned in college. I have a natural and a social identity. And so the identity that most people talk about when they talk about white guilt and they talk about black fatigue, this is a social identity. This isn't natural. It's not natural. I can prove it. I can guarantee it. Do you know why it's not natural? Because a member of a running team in I-10 Kenya who runs 6 days a week, and then in the race season, they do 3 to 4 hard workouts and a couple recovery workouts each week or whatever it is. Someone there maybe doesn't have black fatigue. They have athlete fatigue and running fatigue. And that's closer to natural, right? That's a natural identity, is that if you physically exhaust yourself all the time, you're going to be tired, and you have your own set of adaptations to manage as an athlete. And that's also true if you are a 18-year-old pretty white blonde chick playing tennis as a freshman at a D1 school. You're also going to have athlete fatigue. That's part of the natural identity, is that you could talk about that. A social identity depends on the norms and perhaps the just and unjust things a society does. Some of those are about typecasting you as a type of person or something like that. Hi, Karen Cruz. Good to see you. Karen Cruz. Medicinal cocaine. I hope the government is not trying to divide us. I hope they're not. I hope they see you for who you are and who you can be and who you want to be. I'm sorry the bot's timing you out. Maybe I'll take that one off. I think it's a cute message. It says don't use foul language, and my channel is called Ducks Y. But yeah, our social self cares about how much you get in your bank account. It cares about who put it there. It cares about what you did to earn it, and it cares about whether or not that was fair or not. It cares about what you will do to earn it in the future and how you think about time differences. These are all very important concepts. Time differences. If you guys think it's bad that lefties get mad at capitalists making money, you guys should see how rich people treat each other. I'd invite you to do that. Rich people, to some extent, obviously, like if there's a class or a type of person as a rich person, have respect for anyone who has money and got it from either working high-paying jobs, or they got their money because they invested, or they ran a business, or they sold a business, or something. You can also say that rich people are really critical of each other. There's some people who are not super rich, but will seek out high impact type things, or talk about conscious capitalism. True heroes like everyone else, that's a hero in our society. And there's also people who perhaps won't have a single nice word to say to other rich people. And so my point is just that it's not just radical leftists. It's not just progressive Dems or MAGA who doesn't care about your wallet, doesn't care about money. We're all the same, basically. We all can become the same. We can all become the same amorphous blob as one another. Maybe that is true. It's going to remain true. All right. What about MAGA? What about him? Well, the stream is titled, this stream has a very mean title. It's Trump's Dictator Arc. Davos and the Dictator Arc. Davos and the Dictator Arc. And so I believe personally, yeah, I said a lot of nice things about Trump yesterday. I said some fair, charitable things toward MAGA. So how is he a dictator or an autocrat? Dictator or autocrat? Well, in the United States and in any country, if you believe you can have an administration that for no legal principle except for the fact that it's part of the federal government can do whatever it wants, that's dictatorial. Trump has threatened now, he's conducted one war and threatened 2 to 3 others. That's dictatorial. I don't believe that falls within the US's, executive power in the US. However they justify it these days, it used to be through a Gulf of Tonkin policing resolution. And so he is a dictator or dictatorial. He's adjectively described as a dictator in these ways. And you are full of shit. I don't think so, man. I think I'm good. I think I'm comfy, dude. None of what you are saying is true. Okay. None of what you are saying is true. So this is what MAGA Trump pansies have been doing recently, is their mommy and daddy shows up when they're typing and basically warns me, because I'm neurodivergent, that you're lying to me. So Patrick, can you just check yourself if you got access to that part of your brain? Is your body telling me that you're going to lie to me or try to deceive me or trick me because I'm gullible? Don't even go there. I'm older than you, big fellow. I just want to know if your mommy and daddy are telling me that you're trying to lie to me. Are you trying to lie to me? I'm telling you to prove your bullshit. Okay, I'm trying. So my argument was that, okay, I can extend my argument for you. So if you go to Reddit is one place people are going, like Reddit lefties, Reddit leftists, radical domestic terrorists. But they're using Reddit to aggregate media and videos of examples where someone's civil rights may have been violated by ICE. And so if you go to Reddit and you talk about search US citizen arrest, you'll find hours of videos and hundreds of cases that were actually caught on video of US citizens either being detained or arrested or abused, sent to private prisons, people who died in private prisons without a trial after being arrested by ICE. And so to me as a citizen, it's like, well, are these irrational people? Maybe a little bit and probably, but it's also true, maybe not, right? Like if there's 10,000 do-gooders or 10,000 hippies or whatever you want to call them, 10,000 people, what did you say? Okay, what do you think your side dies day in and day out? You idiots silence people all the time. You're making stuff up. I'm not making stuff up. You can go to Reddit and search all this stuff right now. And I don't think if I see a video, if I see 100 videos that all to me look like people being improperly treated by ICE, and I know some of these encounters result in injury or death of US citizens, can you ask your mom and dad if are we talking? Are we having a conversation right now? So this is what I would believe, is if there's evidence that ICE is acting improperly, this supports my first argument. So I have both of those in my head right now. This supports my first argument that one thing Trump does that's dictatorial or autocratic is he supports this law enforcement agency, and it is this way, despite the fact that there's not transparency, reciprocity, and there appears to be a violation of state laws as well as federal laws as well as constitutional principles. Prove they are. Prove who is. Prove who is what? You're going to keep asking, you're saying prove they are what? So you want me to get like into my Navy SEAL mode or something, right? You want me to get in between what I just said because you're telling me your mommy and daddy actually believe what I just said. ICE did the very exact same job under Obama. Yeah, I talked about that yesterday. Obama, and that's not true. ICE is doing simultaneous sweeps as well as warrant executions. And they're doing so with units that are, we wouldn't believe are specialized or trained enough to do those sort of operations. Yeah. And so I don't care. So I don't care about proving people I saw on Reddit are all telling the truth, because if some of them are telling the truth, and it appears many of them are telling the truth, then it's not my problem. It's unfortunate. Isn't it unfortunate in the first place why that's so why that's taking place right now? That's perfectly okay, and you're going to be okay accepting that. I guarantee it. I can truly guarantee it. I think you'll find a lot more richness not visiting conference booths at 2A shows, not visiting conference booths someplace else. I think you'll find a lot more confidence as well as truthful information, actually engaging information that's available out there on the internet. Okay, well, now it appears you're slandering me. This man is telling you people lies. Here, I can make this performative. Here, let's go. We can pick this up a little bit. This man here is telling you lies. He has no evidence of his comments. Dude, I see you day in, day out. Those protesters are causing everything that's going down in Minnesota. Now, not ICE. And that's not slander, sir, that's a fact. Yeah! How'd I do? How'd I do, brother? I'll tell you this, Patrick Pritchard. Let me suggest or recommend something to you. Brother, I think we can come together and we can find a middle ground on this. I think both you and I can see that what's going on and what's going down and our role in it is either democracy or it's closer to fascism. Young man, I believe that we can talk this through. All right, so why don't we just all both settle down here and we find a way that we can get along? Now tell me what I've lied to you about. Typical liberal. He just went full retard. You know, my biology teacher, Patrick, when I was in high school at a Catholic school was named Mr. Richard. Maybe you're talking about my biology teacher. And every time I show your messages that YouTube blocks, my Streamlabs bot is going to time you out, sir. It's a pleasure talking to you. No foul language. My name is Duck. My real name is Nathan. IRL, my name is Nathan. I go by Duck online. I'm a skinny guy. I'm a little dude. All right. I invented the question mark. All right, Mr. Computer Fist. We got an inventor in chat, folks. We got a grammatician, Mr. Computer Fist, inventing the semantic, semiotic symbols used at Harvard, MIT, all kinds of schools up the Eastern Seaboard. So I want y'all to give a very warm welcome to our celebrity in chat. Now, Mr. Computer Fist, if I was to ask you a question about the first statement you've made, while we are approaching the second, where you say I own the moon, I am perhaps more interested, my friend, in what one might do with this question mark. Fascism, not racism. All right. Yeah, and I believe both of us, Mr. Patrick Pritchard, we may disagree only about the semantics. The majoritarian issue is that racism will reemerge in these here United States, and it will reemerge on account of Donald Trump's failing policies. And while we wait for Mr. Computer Fist to tell us about this moon he owns, as well as tell us about these question marks, I don't believe that the fact that I believe racism will reemerge in these here United States as a result of Donald Trump's policies is the only issue. One can object on political, social, moral, and normative grounds. Indeed, they can find themselves uncomfortable or simply find this administration distasteful. Both are equally good reasons to reject the Trump administration's plans and policies for these United States. The moonbeam made of cheese. All right. All right. Now, I've never been to the moon. I've never been to no moon made of no cheese. But if you say it, sir, you yourself are an inventor, as we've all heard. Grammatic, semiotic, semantic, all kinds of significations, grammatical modes of ologies, studied all up the eastern seaboard, perhaps all the way out as far to the west as Kansas City itself. Now, herself, Kansas City, is a city built on industry, built on prospect, and built on wealth, on the back of farmers, on the back of oxen. But you yourself, Mr. Computer Fist, you yourself claim the moon is made of cheese, and we must believe you. We oblige because you are so wise in these ways. It's a made-up term to play the victim. Now, Mr. Patrick Pitchner, I play the victim to myself. I have suffered like you can't imagine, sir. Do you realize the KKK came from the Democrat Party to stop black Republicans from voting? Now, I don't know how that relates in any way to our present circumstance. If you want to go back all that way far, that's a whole boatload of suffering I haven't done, and I don't care to, sir. I have my beliefs about the year 2026 in the here and now. I do want to represent the voice and stand for those amygdalic fears that my black and brown and Asian brothers, sisters, neighbors may have. The school children, going to school with my own children, their parents are nervous. I'll tell you, as a white male, I am nervous too. I'll stand next to you in this. I don't need to be extremist loud. I am nuanced so I can know, sir. And I'll have you know once again that I've suffered like you wouldn't imagine. I have suffered in ways that you wouldn't dream of or think of. I can tell you a lot of things about that, but I won't. Because it ain't the point here. The point is I have a deep, deep belief about our United States. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are all because the racism belongs to your party. Now, we finally getting into some nuance here. This is what I like, Mr. Pitchner, Mr. 7320 himself. All right. I won't pop this one up. Jimbo Guinea says, do Daniel Plainview from There Will Be Blood. I'll try it in like 20 years. I'll get all those down. Thank you, sir. Mr. Computer Fist. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Jimbo Guinea, I will tell you this. We have Computer Fist in chat, who he himself is a grammatical languageology inventor himself. He knows the moon to be made of cheese, as a matter of fact, not a matter of opinion. And so we are with the celebrity amongst us. I myself am doing the honorable thing and trying to entertain, waxing and waning, perhaps in a creamy dairy derivation of such a thing, while we are waiting for Mr. Computer Fist to say what he wishes to say to us all. Given his status, we will not dispute his claim. All right. Thank you all very much. Have you guys ever tried acting? You are deep intellectual. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I've enjoyed my brief conversation. Mr. Patrick Pitchner, I must apologize for my manners. You have expanded my mind and my view of such things, and I appreciate you for that. Thank you for your very strange and odd question, which I find peculiar in the sense that I can't place it. Not that I'm saying it's political, but I don't think it is political, sir. I must be honest. I will admit we disagree. I believe my prior beliefs are victorious here, sir. I have learned to ask. I have not learned something to do. Thank you, sir. That's a good video to go. So a combat veteran and a former CNN reporter, Don Lemon, are both being targeted by the Department of Justice right now in Trump's latest propaganda campaign. Trump has been notorious for targeting free citizens of the United States when he can't win and when he can't get his way. And so this guy is a former combat vet. Same beautiful love story, but he was quoted by saying he went to this place, and if you see the videos, you see people who went to this church, even under the FACE Act and all this stuff. Hold on, and I bet you think they did nothing wrong. I didn't say that. I don't think they did anything illegal. And you see people peacefully leaving the service as the same way they would walk to their SUV in any other circumstance. And so Trump is going to make a big deal out of this. He's going to say that we have this FACE Act law in the book and there's no other context that matters. And irrespective of, how this happened, whether this is civil disobedience, but these aren't disruptors. These aren't terrorists. These are nothing. These are people. These are people that you would invite to coffee or tea, right? That is who actually these people are. And so when you go back and ask why the FACE Act exists, and you ask why it's the case that a team of prosecutors would get the facts in the case and do the investigation, actually carry it out, they can't decide everything. But this is a legal question. It is a legal question as to who these people are and their motivations and what they planned to do and what they actually did once they were there. None of which support any semblance of illegality. And this guy said you can kill the revolutionary, not the revolution. Thank you very much, sir. I wish I could be a yam when I was your age, sir. Mr. Computer Fist, when I grow up, when I'm no longer a 36-year-old male with a voice made for, perhaps a busy cattle farm with all the farting you couldn't hear me any day, sir. When I get to be that age, sir, I want to be a yam, not a potato. My daddy had potatoes, made me eat potatoes every day of my life. I want to be a yam. I want to be something sweet and celebratory. They violated their right to peacefully worship, broke the law. Now it appears that we are going back to the fact that if we cannot have nuance in the way you wish there to be, there will be no nuance at all. And again, we reach this impasse where I just don't understand it. It seems y'all's losing, and it seems that's what you care about more than anything else, sir. The knowledge and wisdom that you're winning or losing. And I believe that you can be a winner. We've had a conversation here tonight. I'm presenting facts, you are not. No, sir, you have made a history this entire evening of asking me to justify my point, prove my point, justify my point, provide my evidence. And then when I do so, you go back to asking me to provide my evidences. I've provided evidences of why I oppose ICE and I oppose the Trump administration. And I've presented a case as to how and why I can do that in several different ways, sir. And you haven't yet. I'm presenting facts and you are not. And you haven't yet. And you're lying about it. You're willing to use your speech and your language. You're willing to tell us that my awareness of this conversation, sir, is not as good as yours. And I'm telling you, my awareness of this conversation is every bit as good as yours, perhaps better, because I appear to be the one who's remembering it with honesty, sir. You provided your opinions. An opinion is a research statement of facts or beliefs. It doesn't have to be true. That's all you've done as well. And perhaps your opinions have been loose evidence and based on attacking my view of the world. I did mine without respect to your view of the world, and I've read everything you've had to say, sir, just as you have listened to me. I don't think we're going to agree on this. Yeah. Here's my argument for freedom of religion. You've not been respectful one time. Yeah, so my argument for freedom of religion is if you're a tax-exempt church who is in the community, and so not only did this pastor have a field office director advertising himself and his position with ICE on many widely available broadcasts. But churches in general advertise in the newspaper. They go stand outside in front of grocery stores. They present themselves as a group at various festivals or at various social media sites. They themselves are constantly out in the community. And so to say that you have a tax-exempt status and somehow your legal entity gets to perform actions in the community, and you have this unequivocal right to say and do anything you want without any sort of reciprocity or a community response, does not seem to, it seems to create a lot of legal ambiguities. And so if I was a judge or I was a law student, I would say this sets up a scenario where basically you want legal loopholes to argue against each other, which you never really want. You never really want. You don't want to have boatloads of evidences that that law can't really exist. You can't have case law, or you can't have dependable, reliable case law. Or if you do have case law, it clearly skews away from jurisprudence into an ideological leaning. And so perhaps it's the case that the Supreme Court should have heard a case about the FACE Act and just said it's unconstitutional, it doesn't really look like law, or something like that, or it just said that, you know, they need to amend the language or something like this. It's too vague as it's written, or they need more decisions. They should have said something about it. But to say that you only see one side about it, to say you only see one side of the law, Mr. Pitchner, I would take issue with that, to say that, well, you're not taking any of the facts into account that either a defense team or a legal analyst might look at in this case of whether or not it's illegal to go protest at a church. Yeah, I don't agree with you guys. I just don't agree with you guys. I don't agree with anything that you guys are saying. I don't believe it. I don't believe it lands or resonates in anything that's actually appropriate to discuss on YouTube or anyplace else. We just disagree, and we're going to disagree. Are you a lawyer? No, I like the law. I like law. I took, if I'm remembering correctly, I either took an honors 400 level law class, or I took a 500 level con law class when I was in college, like a master's level or graduate level. I took one of the two, but I have very thin or spurious knowledge of the law. I don't know if you're a lawyer, but I'm not a lawyer. But oddly, there are no big protests when that happened. Yeah, that's right. That's probably right. It's probably right. I'm sure it is. I'm not a lawyer. Thank you for asking. It's a very respectful question. Very respectful question. All right, I got to start asking y'all questions now. But oddly, you don't agree with things that you don't like. Is that true? I think about things that I don't like all day. I think I've done that. I think I've suffered more than you, Jim. And so I think it's disingenuous. I think it's disingenuous to say that, not to have a suffering contest, but I think I've suffered more than you. And I think about things I don't like. So if you look it up, it's illegal to disrupt a church while they are in their church expecting their religious freedoms. Yeah, yeah. There's, to the letter of the law, there are laws that protect sessions of worship. There's also laws that protect protesters too. I don't know if I was supposed to say that. Maybe we have a lawyer amongst us blessing us with legal knowledge. When you guys look up Where's your neck and chin go? Where does your neck and chin go? Is that for you or for other people? How does that work? How does it work to twist yourself up? If you're twisted, how does it work? Are you twisted for yourself or for others? So why there are no big protests? My phone's dying. My phone's at 5%. Like, we're not going to cut off the stream quite yet, but we're getting there. We're getting there. If they did it outside, they wouldn't be in trouble now. Because all the people were on vacation. That's exactly what Don Lemon did. Protesters don't have the right to violate anyone's constitutional rights. Yeah, I believe Trump's involvement, as well as Kristi Noem's, is purely ideological too. And I believe a court should consider the fact that this administration seemingly has attempted to use the courts as a tool for their policies, not a tool of the law. And this administration has also used the influence of their own administration to advance their policies in a way which is can be construed to be dissimilar to other administrations. So I'd be curious to have guidance as to whether, if there was a court case that was attempted, if you could order a court to pursue, if you could order the Justice Department to pursue something like this, this thing that, separate of an investigation and ensuring independence and all those things. What would be the actual role of trying to understand sort of outside influence and what should be these independent processes? Oh, shoot. Jim, I hope you're well, brother. Be well, brother. I hope you're good, brother. I hope you're well. I hope you're happy. I hope you have a new life underneath you. I hope you're good. I hope you're well. I hope you have a new life underneath you. I hope you have everything you need. I hope you have a few things that you want, and I hope you know the difference. Rawr, rawr. No. I have a dog that I love the fuck out of. I love my dog. I love my dog, and I love like not normie stuff. So I have here's how I can answer this. I have 4 grandparents. I have 4 grandparents that served in the military. There's Grandpa. Do you see him? You see him there? Hello. Hello. Here. Whoops. That's Grandpa. That's Grandpa. Hello. Hello. Forgive me, Father, for I've sinned. I've become death. I've become as the Archangel Michael. And while I do not serve my Lord, I serve my Master. Amen. Amen. It's only if I'm blessed. It's only if I'm blessed. Right here. Someone clip it. Clip this. who's gonna lift them boats? Who's gonna lift them boats? Who's gonna lift them boats, boy? I'm just goofing around a little bit. Right? You guys are hopefully. Are you a Navy SEAL, Mr. Patrick Pritchner? Did you do Navy SEAL stuff? Like your father and your father before him? I'm the son of a longshoreman. Haven't you got unborn? Israel has God. So Israel has God is in chat. I believe this is a pro-life statement. I do support, I consider abortion a women's rights issue first. I believe the legal decision supports what scientific and social knowledge should tell us. Constructed knowledge and knowledge in general should tell us is likely true about a fetus at some number of ages. And I believe the government can't regulate the metabolism of a woman during the early stages of a pregnancy. I believe a woman's own body. So if you take like a naturalist approach and you're like, I believe a fermented egg is life, I would say, well, I also believe a woman's body can just kill that baby if they want to themselves. And so my belief set there is that it's not a legal question and we're a pro-choice country. Jesse Ventura. Wasn't Jesse Ventura Navy SEAL in Vietnam or something? What is a Navy SEAL? I think Navy SEALs are a government conspiracy. I don't think Navy SEALs actually exist. Not really. If I didn't spend 7.5 years in jail, I'd want to join the CIA. I'd want to join the nice branch of the CIA that does nice things for people. That's what I would want to do. I would sign up for the CIA and I would say, okay, so when do I get to be president? When do I get to be a politician, me, myself, and I? That's what I want to do. I remember we kissed at that gay bar in Atlanta, Euro African. I've only been to a gay bar in what's it called in Nigeria, bro. In Nigeria, Euro African. I was on Rumspringa. I was rejecting my Amish ways and embracing a well, it's not really an alternative lifestyle anymore. It is the lifestyle, I guess. But good to see you again. I hope your lips are still soft. Whoa, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. If he's a funny guy, all I would say is that he's probably studied it. He's probably studied it a little bit. He's probably studied that stuff before. I'm walking here. Computer fist, the only man about sense about him. Hey, some guy's got a crush on you. Hey, some guy's got a crush on you too. I know people from New Brunswick who would kill for that kind of affection. You know, in Jersey, back on the eastern seaboard, you don't get it that often. Not really. Not really. Not really. A well-developed sense of self and a sense about nature. Sense about things drying out versus things just that are just wet. You know? That's what I think. That's what I think. I'm walking here. Hey, I'm walking here, huh? Hey, I am walking here, huh? Come on now. Come on, man. I'm walking here. Trying to walk. Hey, I'm walking here, huh? I'll tell you guys the craziest thought I've ever had. I looked at my dresser the other day and I looked at all the brass knobs. I looked at the oak. I looked at the finish. And do you know what I thought to myself? I thought we live with some real fucking psychopaths. You know, some guy killed 100 goddamn fucking things so I could have my dresser. Do you know how fucking crazy that is? That guy's a real fucking psychopath. My dresser's a pile of death in our society. I'll tell you what, I don't see a place I can store my boxer shorts anymore. I see my dresser as a pile of death. It's a big old pile of death. I could spend my life learning about it. For some brass knobs, I'll tell you what, for convenience sake. You know, and I'll tell you what, these Amish guys, they think they're any, you know, these people who say, I do everything myself, I'm a homesteader. They don't do anything different. They don't do anything better. Do you understand what I mean? You look around your room, you look around your house, do you know what you see? I see a society of people who love beautiful things, and right next to him is some psychopath. This guy will kill 1,000 living creatures so you have a dresser. That ain't fair. Boy, they never tell you about that on the news. They never tell you about that on your advertising. They say put gold in your 401k. They tell you don't go to a library to borrow a book and give it to somebody else. They tell you buy a new book. This Jeff Bezos fella, real nice guy. He wants you to store your pictures on some cloud database. He built a cloud database. He said, give me your pictures, give me your videos. You can watch video games. You can watch the YouTubes. You can watch people playing video games. You can play video games yourself on this Amazon app. And then do you know what he goes and does? This guy hires the people. He hires the people that think about killing 1,000 things to have brass knobs on a dresser. And then he himself does the same thing. He hires the psychopaths who want to put dressers in your home. I don't believe that's fair. And no offense, you should be offended. Come on. Help me out here. I'm trying. I'm struggling. Lend me a hand here. I'll tell you what. I'm going to read Computer Fist here because this guy's an inventor. Did you know the first vegetable ever to be grown in space was the potato? There's the question mark, folks. We heard about this earlier in the stream, earlier in our chat, guys. We heard about Computer Fist and this question mark, and we just saw it for the first time. Did you know the first vegetable ever to be grown in space was the potato? I sure as hell didn't. You know that Neil deGrasse Tyson fellow, he likes rockets so much? What kind of guy is he? Is he the psychopath that likes sending apes and doggies into space? He's the nice guy. I believe he's a nice guy. You guys can't handle that there's nice guys out in the world. The question mark, man, this Computer Fist guy. You guys got to get a load of this guy, man. Check him out. When he's in action, there's no stopping him. There's no slowing him down. You give him a question mark in one hand, you tuck a question mark in his armpits, this guy just goes for days. He won't stop. Come on, man. Give me a break. Give me a break with this guy. Check him out, everybody. Computer Fist. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sign my change.org petition. They gave me a question mark, and do you know what I did with it? I found an answer. I made a change.org petition. That's my first link in that description. Don't send me money. I don't need money. You don't got to donate money. Ignore the money. Ignore the American flag. Ignore the planet. Ignore the flower. Ignore the pin. Just go click that change.org link and sign it. Thank you very much. Enjoy the show, everybody. Binary Void, he's in the house. He's not asking questions. Hey, Binary Void, I got an idea. Get a load of Computer Fist. Get a load of Computer Fist. This guy, he was talking big game about his question marks earlier. He shows up. Do you know what you see? Oh my God. Oh my God. Get a load of this guy, this question mark guy. Hey, the first vegetable grown in space was a potato. Where was it even? You know, you got these NASA scientists telling you got Idaho or Peru all of a sudden. All of a sudden, you're some kind of Latin American, I was about to say a Mexican guy, but you're Peruvian. Get a load of this guy. What a question. I don't even know what he's saying. Out of space again. Again with it. Get a load of this guy. Binary Void, you got to check out Computer Fists. Good to see you from Hungary. I'm from up on the eastern seaboard of the United States of America. You're a girl. You're 23 years old. I'm 36 years old. I've lived 13 more years of life than you, young lady. No offense to you. New York. Try New Jersey, New Brunswick. Are you kidding me with this? Look at that question mark. Computer Fist. How'd she do it? 1989? Taylor Swift? Taylor Swift or myself? Yeah, 1989 in both cases. Natalie Elizabeth. We got Binary Void as a 23-year-old young lady, a grown woman from Hungary. I'm from New Jersey, New Brunswick. My name's Donnie. I go by Duck or Nathan online. Am I high? There's no question mark there. Get a load of this Computer Fist guy. She stole your question mark? All right. You guys got to get a load of this guy. He was talking a big game about his question marks, about his question mark game. He invented the thing. You can't use question marks without Computer Fists. Get a load of this guy. I'm sorry. Binary Void, use the question mark again. See what it'll do. Natalie Elizabeth 7877, use a question mark. See what Computer Fist will do. Oh my God. Get a load of this guy. Hey guys, if you get bored, go check out Liberty Wildlife. Donate, donate, donate. You asked if I was high. I'm not high. Hello? Binary Void. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I was about to delete that comment because I don't think it's allowed in this context. Hello in Europe from the United States. I believe our countries together can be peaceful. We can choose peace. We can vote for peace. We can be peace. We embody peace. We carry it around with us like a question mark in our armpits. Put a question mark in both hands and ask with it, how can we be peaceful? Let's see what Computer Fist will do about that. Let's see what he'll do about it if we're talking about being beauty pageant queens together. I don't think he'll do a darn thing. I'm sorry? Who's telling you why in chat? Kathleen Mackin, I'm going to let you ride for a while because we got some drama going on. So when are you going to show me your Anthony Weiner? I don't know the guy, never met the guy. I'm not going to say it. You don't even know. So I did tell you I'm a boy, and so that's standard knowledge in most biology textbooks. Apparently in Hungary and the United States, we use the same books, or at least we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be. Oh my gosh, right? If you ever visit the eastern seaboard, though, I probably won't show you my Anthony Weiner, but I can tell you a Greek restaurant. My friend Arturo used to clean tables there. Best place in town in New Brunswick. Greek restaurant. I don't know if Hungarians eat Greek food, but boy, I'll tell you what, you can be a real hero. I'm a couch potato. Get a load of this guy. He's a couch potato. Come on, man. Get out of here with that. Get up here. I can only watch for 5 minutes. All right, what do I do next? Where's my peace prize? Kevin, is you a dictator? Is you authoritarian? Do you buy Apache Black Hawk helicopters and you win prizes for it? I'll tell you what, the M4 Sherman tank cost $700,000 2026 when it was first produced in 1934. Did you know that? Did you know that? Do you know what an M4 Sherman tank is worth today? It's worth $0. It's worth nothing. Do you know what the first F-16s that flew in Vietnam are worth today? They're worth nothing. You know, they sell them for peanuts, fractions of the price. You're supposed to buy these big service packages with defense contractors once you buy the plane. You know, it's kind of like saying, you know, you buy an armchair and then you buy a cover for your armchair, then you buy the TV tray. It never ends with these guys. Give me a break. Get a load of this guy. Come on. That's all they tell you. I ended 5 wars while I was typing this comment. Good for you, Kevin Mackin. Maybe he will win it. We'll send him up to Norway. I thought you said you were not Canadian. I'm from the Eastern Seaboard in the United States. My name's Donnie. F-16, obsolete. I just woke up. I had some hash browns, some potatoes earlier. They're just deciding to come out. We had a celebrity. We have an avant-garde celebrity. We had one of these nouveau intelligentsia. He studied grammar, semiotics. He studied semantic, grammatology, all the way out to Kansas City from the Eastern Seaboard of the United States. He went from Florida to Georgia to Arkansas, all the way out to Kansas City. He was industrious. That's why he went to Kansas. You understand? All the stuff we built back was worth something, and now it's worth $0. And they tell you this isn't why we fight wars, to make these people money. What people? What money? There is no money. There's people dying, though. You win a Nobel Peace Prize for being the guy buying the stuff, but you say you're never going to do the killing. How do you know that? I don't understand it. Welcome to the United States. They take your dollars and cents and they send you celebrities to be happy about it. Come on there. Come on there. Give me a break with it. I don't understand it. I don't need to know it. I'm not that close to you. You're not that close to me. That's something I don't know about you. Hopefully you're there. Hopefully you're happy. I had a new friend. From Hungary. Why are you up at 2 a.m. in the morning? 2 a.m. It's 12:05. It's not 2 a.m. I lied about where I am. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm in the Sonoran Desert. Phoenix, Arizona in the southwest United States. The Sonoran Desert is the ecosystem that connects Mexico and the United States across our borders. Do you know that? Do you understand that? Can you hop on a train? Can you hop on a plane, a bus, an automobile? Can you go other places? I can drive to California. I could drive to New Mexico, Las Vegas. I could drive to Colorado if I wanted to. I could drive to Mexico if I wanted to. I'm on the border of Mexico. I've gotten on a plane. I'll tell you what, I took a car ride. I went down to Tucson, Arizona one day. I got a passport, and the next day I got on a plane and I went to Canada. I was supposed to go to Mexico City, and that's why I went down there. Didn't make the flight to Mexico City, so I went to Vancouver instead. I hope that was fun. I hope it was exciting a little bit. I hope it seemed fair. Fair, bear, car. I don't like dry. Oh boy, it gets real dry out here. 13% humidity. 13% humidity out here. 14, 15, 16, 17% humidity out here. I'll tell you what, one day a year it's going to be, 50, 60, 70% humidity, whatever it is, whatever the fuck ever. I don't know. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, mama. I'm sorry, dad. One day out of the year it gets real high, and then it's 100 and... What's the number 117 equal in Europe? You tell me this, okay? What's the number 117 translate to with a base 10? A base 39. It's 47 degrees. So you imagine high humidity with 47 Fahrenheit. That's my worst day of the year. I love the heat. I love Arizona. Meow wolf in the desert, right? Meow meow in the desert a little bit. Yes, yes. I love it out here. I love it out here. Can I ask you a question? I have a question for you. Let me ask this. So do people in Hungary, do they use OnlyFans as a way to make money? You guys do the e-dating shows like on Twitch? You guys do the e-dating shows on like YouTube and stuff? You guys use OnlyFans out there? Your best friends? I don't like the cold. I like the heat. I like whatever I have. I take it and I smile. I smile with it. Do you understand? Do you understand? That's what I'm like. That's what I'm like. You guys, hey, in Hungary, you guys got a lot of those Orthodox churches, the Catholics. I've been to Vatican City. I've been to Florence, Rome. I've been to Paris. That's where I've been. I've been to Vancouver, British Columbia. I've been to Mexico City. I've been in the Caribbean. Been to Chicago. Have you been to Chicago? Chicago is a nice city. It's actually a cool place. Chicago is actually pretty cool. Really, I love it. Chicago's got the city. It's got a train that leads into it. And so you have a lot of financial centers in Chicago. You have a lot of service jobs in Chicago proper. And Chicago, obviously, because it's a big city, used to have a lot of manufacturing and stuff in there. You've got easy transport for Canadian exports. You've got access to the Eastern Seaboard via, I think, rail lines and stuff too. So lots of stuff, right? You can send stuff to a port in Baltimore. You can, you are able to send stuff to a, what's it called? Port in New York City. Yeah. Yeah. So it's very cool. It's very cool. I've only been to Florida. Are you left-handed? Are you left-handed, binary void, or are you ambidextrous? You strike me as someone who's left-handed or ambidextrous. Florida? Oh, cool. I've been to Disney World once. I didn't go to Disney World. I ate at a restaurant outside there once. Get a load of this guy. Come on, computer fists. We only want you set yourself up as a grammar wizard, as a speech and language pathology medium, as you can channel. I think you can channel ideas that most of us only comprehend in spirit and thought. Oh, cool. Cool. Yeah, so yeah. I wish we'd have more conversations that are that actually are about the world and events that are happening outside. I believe it's my main opinion that Americans are allowed to be uninformed, but we almost demand that Americans are ethical. Maybe that's the most important thing, is that if all of this culminates in trust in institutions and government, but also preserves our faith in skepticism, our faith in a minimal government, and our faith in a government that's able to take problems that are within the scope of democracy and solve them. Those are really what I think of as conservative values of the United States. That's what I think of conservative values. And so some people would say, well, it's not trust that matters. It's the fact that we trust each other as Americans. And to me, that's a really consequential question. A little bit. It's a consequential question. And maybe it's one of those questions that we see answered during primary elections. We see answered in crime statistics. We see answered in how Americans respond to those things. Is it more important that we have reasonable discussions between conservative and progressive folks in our country, or is it more important that those conversations and those responses happen because we trust one another? How do you actually sift through any of those things? It's crazy to me. Yeah. Yeah. When you find a truth that you really believe in, that same truth may exist as a smaller truth about something closer to you. So believe in yourself. Believe in yourself and follow your own logics. Follow your own logics in all cases. Follow your own logics to their logical consequences. So when one says something, when one says something they believe is true, and it doesn't actually encapsulate both the larger truths and smaller truths of that statement, what are they saying? What are they saying? They're saying, I'm not going to do anything for you. They're saying, I'm not going to help you with anything. They're saying, I don't care how much of my own pain and suffering goes into your problem. So what? So what? So what? Why? 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 From New Brunswick, folks. All right. All right. All right. Yeah. All right. All right, I'm going to close the stream down, guys. This was a lot of fun. Thank you guys for sticking around. Thank you, Computer Fists, for being a little absurd, a little trolling, and 100% totally entertaining. Thank you, people who stuck around, agreed, disagreed with me, who we got to talk with, especially you guys. I appreciate you. And especially always, as always, shout out also to my in-group fellow Dems. Always nice to see you. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later this week or this weekend with another live. If you guys are subscribed, I'll see you in the shorts feed. Mostly US politics stuff. And yeah, I'll catch you guys at some point in time or whatever, eventually later. Take care.